God, I forgot what this thing feel like. It's been so long. What it do, E-World? Crisscross wire. Oh, yeah. Man, when I haven't ridden in such a long time, I always got to reacclimate myself when I get back on this thing. You know, the more you ride, the more you get used to everything. But the less you ride, then you get unused to it. So, yeah. I almost forgot just how ruthless this damn thing was. Especially in its acceleration. This thing is a monster. Should have called it monster instead of beast. But anyway, we're going to talk about batteries today. Battery being the most important part of your e-bike. Obviously, that's why it is an e-bike. It's an electric bike. So, I also believe that it is definitely the most important part of your build. Now, everybody tends to focus on motors and controllers, but let me tell you, fellas, your controller is only as good as the battery that it's running off of, okay? It doesn't matter if you go out and buy the most expensive controller on the market. If you put that controller on a crummy battery, you're going to get crummy performance, okay? Not only that, your settings in which you set your controller to should be in line with the output of your battery. If you're attempting to put demands on your battery that it cannot sustain, that is going to be bad for your battery, and you're not going to get the performance that you're looking for. You're only fooling yourself. Now, we're going to talk about some info you should know when it comes to getting your battery, and some homework you should do before you buy a battery. All right. Now, let's see. First of all, I want to talk about, if you're not sure if your pack is handling your controller, I mean, it should be pretty obvious, but the easiest way to tell that your controller is not getting enough amps that it is set to or it requires is if when you full throttle, your voltage should hold roughly close to whatever it is when you're sitting still. Now, no battery is going to be able to sustain that exact voltage under load, but there's a window in which it shouldn't get any worse. You know, if your volts are dropping back from full charge 84 volts to 82, 83, 81, that's fine. That's normal. You know, you're going to have some voltage sag. But if you're sagging back 10 plus volts, you know, from 84 down to 70, down to 60, your pack is definitely way too small for whatever controller or settings you have. You know, so you're either going to have to adjust your settings or get a bigger pack. That's pretty much the easiest way to know if you're getting enough amps to your controller, is how steady your voltage is. Now, remember, most of us already know when it comes to top speed and RPM, all that is based upon your voltage. So you want to have initially the highest voltage possible. If you're going to get your maximum top speed, you're not going to get your maximum top speed if when you're under load, your volts are all the way back at 69 volts. Obviously, the RPM from 69 volts and 84 volts is going to be a huge difference. So if you're one of those people that just go in your settings and turn your DC line amps up to max and your phase amps up to max, and then you out there riding thinking you're getting the best performance, you are not. Because you're going to only get the best performance when your voltage is at its highest. All right? There's a difference if you're full throttle and your voltage is holding steady up in the high 80s, and instead of it dipping down to 70 or 60-ish. All right? So turn those DC line amps back, turn those phase amps back, and trust me, your top speed will be higher. Now, voltage, as we said, voltage is what determines your top speed, that RPM. Amps is what gives you your torque, the muscle, the actual power of your bike. You know, how fast you get from A to B, your acceleration. All that is coming from your current output. All right, has nothing to do with the voltage as far as acceleration. Now, like I said, your voltage is only going to determine its final top highest RPM, but your acceleration is amps. The more amps, the more torque. The more torque, the faster your acceleration. Okay, so that is why I didn't build a bike for top speed. If I did, I would have chosen a high voltage system, because the higher the voltage, the higher the top speed. I did a build to accelerate from A to B, which is normally, if you're racing somebody, you're racing to the finish line. And most races, honestly, aren't nowhere near even a quarter mile. The average race ain't even an eighth of a mile, but let's say at least an eighth of a mile. All right, and nobody is hitting their top speed at an eighth of a mile unless you're on a serious rocket ship. Now, you can achieve the same top speed with different amounts of amps. Now, as you can see on my kilowatt app, I have 1, 2, and 3. Supposedly those are the gears, my transmission, but it's based on power output. So I have first gear set at 10,000 watts, second gear at 20,000 watts, third gear 30 plus. Now, believe it or not, all three of those stages will get me to the same final top speed number. They just won't get me there at the same time as fast. Now, 10,000 watts, let's say my top speed is 80 miles per hour. I'm going to do that 80 miles per hour regardless if I'm running 10,000 watts or 30,000 watts. When this bike stops accelerating, it's going to be at 80 miles an hour. But again, how fast we get to that 80 miles an hour is based on those watts and those amps. So you want the best of both worlds. You want the highest voltage potential with maximum amps. Now let's talk about the battery. Same thing. You want the maximum voltage with the maximum amps. So when you go and buy a battery, most people are thinking about batteries in terms of capacity, and capacity is definitely going to determine your range. The more capacity, the further and longer you can ride, but that's just capacity. Okay, so 2 different 72 volt 40 amp hour packs, both having the same capacity. However, both of those packs may not be able to release the same amount of energy at one, you know, how much current can flow from that pack. All right, now if you got one 40 amp hour pack that has 18 650s in it, 150 amp BMS, that 40 amp hour pack is only going to be able to discharge 150 amps. That's how much can flow, how much current can flow. Now if you have a 40 amp hour pack that's made with Mylar cells, obviously that pack is going to be able to discharge a lot more, possibly 400 to 500 amps. Okay, so therefore you're getting a lot more acceleration with those amps. So when you go and buy a pack, make sure you understand what you're buying. Make sure you know what type of cells is in that pack, because if you intend to run high power, you may end up bypassing your BMS. And bypassing a BMS can be good and bad, but no, if you bypass that BMS that's governing that battery, after you do that, you are now the BMS. You are now the one that's governing how much current is flowing from that pack, and how long and how hard you do that. So if you know that you're riding on a stock pack with a bypass BMS, you have to have common sense enough to not be going way beyond the output of that pack and doing it too long. Because if you do run a stock pack very hard for too long, it's definitely going to end up being catastrophic. You're going to overheat those cells. Most likely in a stock pack, you only have cells that are capable of producing 10-15 amps, and if you're attempting to draw 40 and 45 amps from those cells, you are putting those cells under an extreme load. They're going to be getting extremely hot, and that's how bikes end up burning up after a group ride, or after you've been acting like a fool haul-assing for long periods of time, not giving that pack a chance to cool down. So if you bypass a pack, do know it is on you after that point to be sensible enough to know when to hold and know when to fold. And another thing, if you're running bypass, you should definitely be monitoring your battery cell temperatures. You should at least have some type of way of monitoring the temperature of that pack, and when it gets to a certain temperature, at that point is when you should slow down and let things cool down a bit. Now if you're able to buy a pack with some high output Mylar cells, they can definitely handle a little bit more abuse, obviously, and output a lot more current flow. So like I said, you're going to buy your pack, make sure you know these things. Make sure you know what type of cells they are and how much actual amps you can extract from that pack. Okay, hopefully I said enough on that. I'm gonna talk about something else, man. Maybe some of you don't know, but I'm sure most of us do know. There's been a whole lot of battery fires going on, and to be honest, these fires that are occurring, it's not really the fault of the manufacturers of those batteries, although some of them are really crappy and shitty. Most of the time, these fires are occurring from user error, okay? And there's several ways you can misuse a pack, just like I said, abusing it, extracting more power than it can deliver. But a lot of times when packs are catching fire in homes, it's happening during charging, and that is because a lot of us who are into PEVs own more than one PEV, you know, so you may have 3 or 4 different chargers, but unfortunately a lot of those chargers use the same connector. So a 72 volt charger will actually connect to a 52 volt bike. So if you're overcharging a 52 volt pack with a 72 volt charger, obviously that pack, when it goes way beyond the 56 or 58 volts or whatever the top full charge of that pack is, it's going to end up catching fire, you know. So that's a lot of reasons why some of these fires are happening. Other reasons are because a lot of people are attempting to tinker and DIY on their bikes when they really don't have any knowledge and understanding of what they're doing. And then not only that, they're doing crappy work, you know, not insulating things properly, not taping up wires properly, have exposed wires that are shorting out, all kinds of stuff that is happening because of someone trying to work on their own bike and are clueless about what they're doing. So, you know, a lot of those e-bike fires in New York, I hear a lot of those guys are delivery drivers. They ride e-bikes, and because they're delivery drivers, they want long range, so they attempt to run a lot of packs in parallel to give them a high capacity. And you know, like I said, at the end of the day, poor craftsmanship, bad work is causing these batteries to catch fire. Anyway, what that is also triggering is now the lawmakers are requiring that these legitimate e-bike businesses have packs that are UL certified, and that's going to make things a lot worse in terms of pricing goes, because in order to certify a battery pack, UL certifications are very expensive. They have to be done for each and every product, and yeah, that's costly. Also, these legitimate e-bike businesses now have to have insurance if they're selling e-bikes, because of all these e-bike fires, even these e-bike shops. So it's not just regular consumers having battery fires. A lot of these shops are burning up and catching fire, and that could be because of an employee not being knowledgeable enough charging up bikes. And you know, you never know what's happening. They're putting bikes up after they've been abused and haven't had a chance to cool down. They may be going into thermal runaway. You know, thermal runaway doesn't have to occur right after you stop riding your bike. You could have been riding so hard that when you go and take your bike in the house, it can happen 20-30 minutes later. That's why when I ride hard and put heavy demands on my pack, even as big as it is, before I take my bike in the house at night, I let my bike stay outside until it cools down. I'm not taking my bike in the house until it is fully cooled down. And I don't charge my bike in the house. I charge my bike outside. You know, at the end of the day, we're still talking about electronic components, and stuff does fail. You know, a battery can fail. So it can happen to anyone. All right. Now, so back to what I was saying about that, they're charging these businesses a lot as far as insurance now, and best believe that pricing is going to trickle down to people buying packs. Packs are about to get very, very expensive. They're already expensive. I mean, a decent pack, custom built pack that, you know, can discharge 300 amps is a $2,500 pack most places for a decent size one. All right, so you add on that UL certification and the insurance that these shops have to have now, and that pack might go from $2,500 to $3,500. So what that's going to do, that's going to push people to attempting to DIY their own packs, and that also is going to push people into buying packs from guys like myself who are able to build packs. Okay, so you know, not everyone can build a pack. I'm not acting like that's something that only I can do, but you know, you really need to know what you're doing when you're building these battery packs, man. You know, I can understand. I'm a DIY guy. I respect DIY, and I think most people, if they can, you know, work with their hands, should attempt to build their own pack. That's the only way you're going to be able to afford a really nice large pack. Do it yourself. You're going to save yourself thousands of dollars. But if not, you're going to have to buy some from somebody that's making one. And man, you better make sure that whoever's building that pack knows what they're doing. Because you know, I've seen people building packs and they think just because they running miler cells that they got a pack that can output 500 amps because they use miler cells, when they didn't use other materials that can pass that 500 amps or that high current. You know, just because the cells can produce it, you got this, you have to have a means in which that power can be delivered, just like your power leads. You know, you got a 500 amp battery, but you got a set of 8 gauge wires on that pack with Anderson connector. You're not getting 500 amps through that 8 gauge and that Anderson connector. So that's why you see a lot of packs, they have 2 or 3 sets of leads, because they might run 8 gauge leads, because there's 3 of them, it's going to be able to pass more current flow. And then if you have 3 connectors, you're able to pass 3 times whatever the current rating of one of those connectors is. If you got a connector that can handle 160 amps, obviously if you use 2 connectors, that's double 320 amps. If you need more than that, then you might do 3, and you know, do the math, it goes on and on. You know, at the end of the day, as I've always said, this electronic stuff is nothing but math. If you want maximum power, you know there's a formula for power. It is amps times volts equals watts. If you lower any one of those variables, the amps or the volts, you're obviously going to lower the watts. Okay, so you want them as high as possible. That's why I told you, if you full throttle and your voltage is falling back to 70 volts, okay, now you have whatever current that you're drawing. Let's say you're drawing 200 amps, you got 200 amps, 70 volts at 200 amps. That's 14 kilowatt. All right, now if you had that same 200 amps at 84 volts, do the math on that. You know, I think that's like 16,000 kilowatts and some change. So, you know, it's simple math. So you don't want to, as I said, turn those power all the way up so that your, you know, the voltage that your motor is seeing is 70 volts because it's sagging back to 70 volts. You rather have that 200 amps at 84 volts. You're going to get a higher top end. You also want to keep that voltage up because if you're using field weakening, as well as I've said in other videos, your field weakening is not even being effective if the voltage is dropping that far back. Not only that, whatever power you're outputting as far as your DC line amps, whatever you set that field weakening to, if you're running 50 amps of field weakening, you're going to have to add that 50 amps to your 200 amps of output power. So you're going to need a total of 250 amps from that pack in order to get which you have that stuff set at. Now, most important thing is to have your settings set correctly, and you'll get better performance. Don't fool yourself and trick yourself. Alright, y'all, I'm done enough talking. I'm gonna get out here, go a little faster. Yep. She's still doing alright. Man, ain't nothing better than riding your bike, man. Put a little stress on that front brake. We'll use variable e-brake over here. Let's take a look at this thing. It's dirty. I haven't wiped it down in a month of Sundays. But, yeah, ain't looking too shabby. Oh, man. Yeah, it's beautiful out here, fellas. Let's see, anything else we can talk about? Oh, I mean, basically, yeah, I'm selling batteries, guys. I'm selling batteries. And I'm also going to say this. I just was talking about, you know, how these shops are being charged these high insurance rates and everything, man. Listen, I'm going to be honest. I definitely can't afford to buy that type of insurance, nor will I be warranting batteries for long terms. Because like I said, a lot of times it's user error. If you get a pack from me, do know that it is built with quality materials to the best of my ability. But once that pack leaves me and you take it out of there, that is your pack. I don't know what's happening once it leaves me, you know. People do stupid things, so I'm not about to be responsible if you do something stupid and cause that pack to fail. So you have to be responsible for your own pack and understand that if you get one from me. It's going to be hard to get. Like I said, in the future, it's about to get real difficult to get some packs, man. Amazon say they ain't even shipping packs no more unless they're UL certified. Now I think that might only be to New York. I think that's what they said right now. But I'm pretty sure that's going to start being nationwide at some point. Everybody, they're not going to ship them. I don't know what packs out there are UL certified. It only seems like, you know, those real top quality bike manufacturers that make those really expensive e-bikes, like those Bosch e-bikes and stuff like that. Only those really expensive manufacturers are offering UL certified batteries. Most of the chargers are UL certified, but the packs themselves are not. So it's about to get real interesting, man. Anyway, man, I forgot how nice this was. I ain't about to act a fool. I'm just gonna focus on the road a little bit. Go ahead, buddy. And be careful out here, guys. I heard a lot of fatal e-bike and motorcycle accidents occurring, man. You gotta, no matter how good of a rider you are, you gotta watch out for these non-driving people, man. There's a lot of people out here behind the wheel that shouldn't be behind the wheel. Old people can't see. Young people texting on their phones, not paying attention. It's not a game. Shout out to the New York crew, man. You know, I'm in a group couple groups on Telegram. Now, you want to check out the e-bike scene, the Emoto scene, as far as see what's going on with the guys that's really doing the damn thing in the e-community. And I gotta take my hats off to those guys in New York, man. They ain't playing, boy. They are not playing. They are doing the damn thing. Those boys are learning how to work on their own bikes, and they're buying top of the line everything. Unfortunately, one thing about these Emotos, Performance doesn't come cheap. Ain't nothing cheap about this thing. If you're looking for cheap, you in the wrong hobby. Because cheap and fast do not go hand in hand. Trust and believe me. You want to go fast, it's best that you don't do it the cheap way. You know, buy quality components, quality gear, and you know, I mean, safety gear, and wear that shit. You might be hard-headed and not listen, but trust me, your head is not harder than that concrete. The crazy thing is, I've seen a few motorcycle accidents online, and it's for some reason it always seems like the helmet gets knocked off the person when they get hit really harshly. These helmets with these straps, they're strapped on your head. I don't know if these people didn't have their helmet strapped or whatever, but it seems like when they get hit hard, that's the first thing that happens. That helmet comes off your head. So I don't know. I keep mine strapped. Hopefully it won't come off. Not only that, and don't let nobody talk you into doing some stupid shit, man. You know, people always gonna want to see you do something dangerous. Entertain them. But never kill yourself trying to prove something to other folks. I also say that because I know some of them New York guys who I was just talking about, man, they ride in that New York traffic. Have you ever been in New York? If you're in a car, you have to be extra defensive in a car the way they drive up there, man. They bumper to bumper. I mean, it's rough and tough. So, you on a bike, you gotta be extra alert. So I know those guys like to, you know, to bob and weave through traffic. And while that shit may be cool and make for a nice video, ain't none of them folks watching them videos gonna send your family any money or flowers if you kill yourself in the process. I don't ever worry about having to prove myself to these idiots. And if you're going to be doing high-speed test runs or attempting to go at high speeds, make sure you're doing it somewhere where it's safe to do that, man. All of these roads ain't safe to be doing 100 miles an hour on. Like my road right here. As you can see, there's a lot of traffic on this road. And there's turns, lights, hills. You know, I wish I had a nice super long straightaway, but not close by anyway. Seen them people over there. Think we're gonna go take a break for some station identification. Y'all take it easy. Take much care. Crisscrossing buyers. I'll see you there.